Welcome to the Growth Guys Podcast, presented by KinderReeseCoaching.com. This is the #1 podcast for real estate agents who are serious about growing their business. Get the strategies and tactics to grow your business fast while building the lifestyle you dream of. Now, sit back, buckle up, and get ready, because we're about to get real. The Growth Guys Podcast starts right now.
What's up, everybody? It's Jeff Kiani, and welcome to another episode of the Growth Guys Podcast. Here with John Kitchens, as usual. What's going on, John?
What is happening?
Man, I'm doing good. How you feeling? How you feeling at the ultra marathon 72 hours ago?
And I was going to ask you the same question. I noticed you got the little you earned the 26.2 up on the back of the computer there. So congrats. That's such a cool accomplishment. And
yeah, man.
Like this go around, it's like I don't even think anything about it anymore, right? It's just another like, oh well. But I have to back up and think a couple of years ago when I did the first 26.2, and night and day difference how my body felt, right? And I did, so. And you were in great shape. I was a train wreck after my first one. Like, I mean, I couldn't walk. I mean, I think I remember. So we were in New York. I get back to the hotel. We actually, I couldn't walk anymore. We had to get one of those little guys on the bicycle that you can sit in the little deal on the back.
Yeah, like a rickshaw type of deal.
He was pedaling through downtown, down through Manhattan.
Yeah.
Anyways, get over to the hotel, and it's just like I had a bottle to celebrate with, right? Me and my dad, and I opened that immediately and took a couple swigs and kind of sat back, and I was like, I was a train wreck, man. And then seeing you after the race, man, you were in good shape.
Yeah, I mean, I had to be honest, I had like two people. This one girl who was running next to me most of the time. We were kind of like in the same cadence there, and I'd kind of pass her, and then she'd pass me, and then there at the end, man, she had like a bunch of her friends there right on the side, and they started screaming for her, and she lit a fire in her ass, and then she took off and passed me. I'm like, son of a, and so then I picked up my pace a little bit. So part of the reason I look so good, like you look strong coming across the finish line, that's because I saw that girl blow past me. It's like, damn, she stopped.
Man, you got to look good coming down the finish line.
Got to look good coming down the finish line. You know what I mean? I was, like you're coming around that turn, you're going to save it up. I'm going to save up my energy. So I come around that turn, I'm going to be able to hit it, man. But it was an awesome time. I know both of us enjoyed it. So downtown Dallas, it was great. Ran basically the whole city.
Track. Yeah.
Right. The whole city, White Rock Lake, Highland Park, Uptown, Deep Ellum, you name it. Any of the historical neighborhoods or areas of Dallas, we ran through it. So
it was
pretty
cool,
neat, man.
Beautiful weather. We got lucky. We lucked out. The cold front hit like as the sun was going down. So we had a beautiful day. It actually got a little warm, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah, man. Like it did get a little warm. I think we got up to maybe close to 70 degrees or something like that.
Yeah. It was something else. So started the day out, had gloves on, right? We started running, and then we end up just full on sweat, and it was good, man. It was a good day.
So that kind of leads us into today's topic, man. We talked about commitment recently, and kind of spinning off of that, the next thing that comes once you've made a commitment is to put in the effort. And so what we're going to talk about today is effort, the importance that plays as a role in your success. I mean, really, when I was thinking about this, Kitchens, we talked about, I said commitment recently, but, maybe even more, I think really the biggest factor in your success is probably going to be the effort, no matter what it is. We talk about what we just did. So, that's 138. While we were talking, I did the math. There's 5,280 feet in a mile. I ran 26.2. That's 138,000, almost 140,000 feet. You did 31 something. So, you're getting 20,000 feet. You got 20,000 feet more than me, or whatever that might be. But man, you think about that, that's a lot of effort. And there's no way to fake it. I could make the commitment, but it's not going to do nothing. And I think sometimes we fool ourselves like making a commitment is going to do something. You get to walk around and be like, I made a commitment, I'm going to do this, but without the effort, there's nothing, right?
I think too, making the commitment in the effort. Yeah. We're talking about, having, running the Dallas, city marathon, but man, I think a lot of the effort goes in behind the scenes, right? The early morning runs, right? And sitting there and stretching and rolling your legs out and the time in the gym and, all of that time commitment and the effort that gets put in. So like what we did on Sunday was enjoyable, right? Now, don't get me wrong. It took tremendous effort to get through that entire day and get across the finish line, but it's the things that nobody sees that determines how enjoyable of an experience that's going to be. And, like you said, man, there's no faking it. There's no faking it at all.
And one thing I want to talk about is cumulative effort, because that's really what you're talking about there. And that's what the 140,000 feet are. It's 1 foot repeated 140,000 times.
Yeah.
Right. And then that ends up being 26.2 miles, and we can feel strong coming off the finish line and get a beer and get my medal and my t-shirt. But that all, when you're putting that medal and you're standing in front of that photo op, I mean, that's all the result of 140,000 steps. And it's like, and so it doesn't happen on one step. It's the cumulative effort of all of it. And there's a big difference between effort and then the cumulative effort. So I've heard it referred to before as there's sprinting effort, right? Sprinting effort. And that's like when, let's say I realize it's the end of the month and I haven't been prospecting and I don't know where the next deal is going to come from. So over the next 2 or 3 days, I put in a tremendous amount of effort. And it's hard because, right, I have to do it all in a short period of time. I got to sprint it. Versus if I just put in a little bit of effort every day, that cumulative effort is what builds up over time and leads to the success. And so I think some people maybe feel almost, you could make an argument that people think that they have to put more effort in than they really do. The only reason that they require so much effort is because they don't use the power of cumulative effort. Right? If I work out once a week, it better be a 2-hour workout.
Right.
Versus if I work out 15 minutes a day, you know what I'm saying?
How are we going to see, what's the benefits going to look like? How much longer is it going to take? Even like for you thinking about this on the prospecting side of things and making the phone calls, what's the results you're going to get for prospecting one time a day for 2 hours versus every day for 30 minutes?
Yeah, I mean, cumulative effort is the recipe for overnight success. I mean, the results, if you did what you just said there, let's say that you got, using the example of the team that I mentioned not too long ago, they got 4 new listings at 350,000 or up in basically a span of 90 days, all as a result of making roughly, let's say, 3,000 dials plus or minus, as I recall. So, you do the math, let's say it's $40,000 in commission, 3,000 dials. So each dial then was worth, I'm thinking I'm too high here, but let's say it was $40,000 in commission divided by the 3,000 dials. I mean, we're literally talking about $13 a dial, I believe. $13 a dial, $13.33. So if I would have made, let's see, that being said, if I would have made, what did we make, 3,000? Let's say I tripled my effort and I made 9,000 dials at 13.33. So that is $119,000. So, you know what I mean? There it is right there. And that, so let's say, well, geez, that sounds ridiculous. 9,000 dials over, that's a lot of effort. That's an effort that's too big for me to put forth. Really? Okay. So what do we have? 90 days. We got weekends and shit. So let's say 20 days times 3. Let's say 60 days. $9,000 in 60 working days. 9,000 dials in 60 working days. So you divide that out. It's 150 dials a day. You kidding me? You can't do that. Well, how long do you work per day when you're at the office? Oh, maybe like 4 hours. And then I'm running out and doing other stuff. Okay, so 150 divided by 4. So can you make 37? Can you call 37 people an hour?
Goes back to
anybody can do that.
Yeah. Goes back to what we were talking about on last episode, man. Just you know, what is your level of commitment? And then, you know, I think one of the key words, you know, from an effort standpoint is the consistency. And we were talking about Jim Collins before we hit the record button. And you know, it's one of his key foundational principles that he's seen through all of their study and research. And one of the things is the 20-mile march. And, you know, it's that commitment every single day to put in the same amount of effort consistently over time. Like I mean, you've got to go back and read, you know, through his studies and the recommendations that he gives, but it is not even close when you break down that principle of the 20-mile march versus, you know, somebody else that's trying to cover the same distance, but they just, depending upon how they feel, they may go 60 miles one day and, oh, it's too cold, we're not going to do anything today. But no matter what the weather is, no matter what is facing you, you're covering 20 miles every single day. And, you know, it builds that consistency, and you're putting in that effort, and you are going to get to the outcome faster than not. And so it's such a great understanding and great principle. Man, it's the consistency. It's the consistency. It's the consistent effort over an extended period of time.
That's it. And it's that cumulative effort that gets to success. I mean, and another way I think that helps, you know, whether it's, you know, I'm going to set a commitment. I'm going to commit to make a certain number of calls. I'm going to commit to make a certain number of presentations. I'm going to commit to make a certain number of recruiting calls, whatever it is. Then you have to establish, well, what effort is going to require, and then break that effort down and realize that you just have to be good enough for that one day or that one time. You know what I'm saying? Like if there was 365 stories, building wise, for instance, 365 stories sitting in front of me that I had to climb, it would seem unsurmountable. But if I just concentrate on one story and then another story, the cumulative effort, the consistency, just taking it one story at a time, you'll end up at the top. And so I think some people will, if I use the example of the 180,000 feet, that seems unsurmountable. But if I just concentrate on the first foot and then the next foot, if I just say I'm going to concentrate on the 37 dials today, I'm not worried about the 9,000 dials that Jeff is talking about doing in 60 days, because I'll get caught up in the whirlwind of that and it'll paralyze me, right? And so I just got to concentrate on 37 calls today. That's it. That's all I got to do is be good enough to do today, and then do it again tomorrow.
You know, I had a great call with one of our coaching members earlier today, and we were talking about, you know, if you think about the longevity of it, it can become overwhelming, and I was like, you know, for her, I kind of framed it up. I was like, just do the next step with the most amount of effort, the best that you possibly can. And here's the thing: there's always going to be the next step. There's always going to be the next step. You know, we talk about, you know, from setting goals and talking through that to get to the top of Mount Everest. And we talk about, once you realize your BHAG is going to be reached, you've got to reset the BHAG. Why is that? Because when you get to the top of the mountain, there's another mountain on the other side. And so there's just like, she was becoming overwhelmed at the entire complexity of it. Right. And it's like, no, just do the best that you can with this next step. Right. She needed she's helping build out a funnel or whatever, do some stuff. And she knows her next step, she's got to shoot a video. I said, shoot the video. Don't think about anything else. I said, you know that there's going to be something next. There's always something next. And it's like thinking through on Sunday, right? We got through mile 1. Guess what? There's going to be mile 2, right? Don't even think about mile 2. I'm just thinking about getting to the next end of the block, right? And then I can get to the next end of the block. Then I can get to the next end of the block. I'm not thinking about that finish line. I'm thinking about putting in the maximum amount of effort that I can for this, get to this point, then this point. And, it is a little bit of a mental game that we tend to play with ourselves. But I think when you try to engulf the whole scope of it, it can become overwhelming and then create, to where you become overwhelmed. And that's one of the killers that will kill your business, because it'll derail you, it'll paralyze you, and you won't put out any effort. And so you've got to be able to find those little triggers. And what really connected for her today was just focus on in the most amount of effort on this next task. And just know that there's going to be another task. And there's going to be another task. Then there's going to be another task. There will always be another task, right? It's like when you cross the finish line, that ain't the last 100 yards. That ain't the last 1,000 feet you're going to run. You're going to do it again, right? So it's just, it never ends. And I think that's it really resonated well with her, breaking it apart and just, what do I have to do today that's going to put in the most amount of effort that I can put in? And I already know that there's going to be something to do again tomorrow. And there's going to be something to do again tomorrow. And that really helped connect for her.
Yeah. And, video and stuff like that, a lot of people are just, scared to do it, quite frankly, or whatever. And that the one thing effort does too, is it defeats fear. If you put in a lot of repetitive effort, you tend to get good at something. I mean, you get better at stuff that you do more of. And so then you're not as scared, you're not as concerned, you're not worried, you don't fill your head with those diminishing thoughts, because you've put in enough effort to know that you're equipped and prepared, right? And so that's another thing that people discount as far as effort goes, is you wonder why you still have issues with performance in whatever area, whether it's scripts or it's face-to-face presentations or asking for the business. Just put in more effort. Just put in more effort and you would get better. That's the one guaranteed thing. I remember this. I had this guy, we used to walk around in the brokerage I worked at, like a Wall Street type of a brokerage, financial services. And he used to say, "You want to raise? Jeff, you want to raise?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, hell yeah, I want to raise." He's like, "Well, make some more dials. Dial more people." And I'm like, "Damn, come on, man. Thought you were gonna give me a raise and say, you want to make some more money? Make some more dials."
You know what, man?
That's true. That's one guaranteed thing.
I love that. And
you can go try to get better. All the time. You can go try to get better. I just want to loop
the damn time.
Yeah, I just want to loop that thought off, so you can get better. You can spend time and you can try to improve your skill, and all that stuff is great. But there is one guaranteed thing that will get more results and help you get better, and that's just effort. If you're not naturally talented like Tom Brady, or maybe he's not a good example, he worked pretty hard. If you're not maybe like whoever that you think has it easy, just put in more effort, because talent does have a ceiling, right? Natural talent has a ceiling, and that is the difference. You hear that thing all the time, talent gets you so far. It has a ceiling, and then the talented people get to the next level, or the people that aren't so talented get beyond the people that are talented, all based on effort.
Man, I've seen it. I remember, back in the Hollister, California days, living the life on the golf course. And, I had the opportunity to work with a lot of our juniors and really head up our junior program. And, man, there were a couple kids that, were like, man, they were okay. And I had left, and then I had gone back out. I would go back out every year after and play play in, a couple of the big golf events and stuff that they had out there that I actually got to run. So I actually got to go back and play in them since I didn't, obviously didn't work there anymore. And I'd started to see some of these kids over the years, right? And a couple of them became studs. And what it was is that, they would be out there, they would show up every damn day, and they would be on the driving range, and they would be shanking them off and just that, the other, and terrible. And then, but they stayed so consistent and came out and put in the effort that naturally that it caught up, right? Because they were willing to make that commitment. They were willing to come in and put in the work. And I think that's
cumulative effort. Cumulative
yeah,
effort. That one day you look up and you're like, "Damn, that dude's a stud." I remember when he used to shank it.
Yeah, I remember. One of my very first kids out there. He was a lefty, and a little wise ass. And I mean, I loved him. He was the coolest little kid. And there towards the end, one of the last few times that I went out there, he actually became a winemaker, but he was a hell of a golfer. And we got to play against each other quite a bit, which was really fun. And you just see it. And I talked to him through over the years and stuff. And he ended up going to school. He got a golf scholarship on to go play. And I would always kind of joke with him. And he was like, "Man," he goes, "I just showed up every day. I went through, and I knew what I had to do. I had to get after it." And it paid off. And it's just kind of cool when you see that. And so, even like for you like what I was going to say is that you say it all the time, and we say it all the time too. It's that I don't care how good of a marketing funnel you get, how much you're good at attracting or bubbling up opportunities, you ain't going to do nothing unless you're able to pick up that phone and set that appointment, right? Have that conversation. At the end of the day, you still got to talk to people. As much as you want to try to automate it and let it all do its thing, you got to talk to people, and you got to put that effort in. And for a lot of people, I mean, it's hard work, right? And so, man, it comes down to it, man. It's effort.
Yeah, man. I mean, the paperwork don't sign itself.
No, I always joke.
Paperwork.
No, it don't.
It doesn't. And the questions don't answer themselves, and the concerns don't put themselves to rest. And you know what I mean? That's the difference. That human factor. That's what people are. You hear that story. People buy you. They don't buy the product. And thinking in this situation as a real estate agent, people are buying you when they say yes to letting you list their home. As much as it is important to have a unique value proposition, and you want to have ways to differentiate yourself, but really all that stuff, they're not buying the system. They're buying you and the confidence that you have and the way that you could articulate the system. Really that's what they're buying. The old thing, they buy an emotion, they justify on logic. So, I'm fired up about you. You sound great. You delivered the system. I can't even understand what you're talking about, but you sound like you know it so damn well. You're my guy. And then later I'm like, well, gosh, I don't know. Well, he did have that placemat. He did have 115 variables. He did cover exposure. Well, gosh, I think I did make the right decision. And I'm going to justify it based on some of those things. But people buy you, and you can get better at you by just putting in a lot of effort.
That's the magic pill, man. For those of you looking for the silver bullet, looking for the magic pill, right there it is, man. It's called effort.
And like your guy in the golf, I mean, one thing I can guarantee you, and that we all know, is that most people will quit at some point. Most people will quit. It'll be cold outside today, so I'm going to quit. I got in a fight with my wife this morning, so I'm not going to make the dials because I don't want to have any more rejection. I got bills that are late, and I just can't even think about working right now. I don't know how you go close a deal right now. Whatever it is, most people, we're all going to have those days. So, you will have a day like that, but it's just a matter of whether or not you quit. Most people are going to quit at some point. And so those days when you're still there putting in the effort. I don't know if it's today that Kitchen's going to quit. Not that Kitchen's ever going to quit. But I don't know if it's today that he's going to quit, or it's tomorrow that he's going to quit, or if he's taking off for the Christmas holiday next week. I don't know. But I know for damn sure it's going to happen someday. and I'm going to get a plus that day. I'm going to get, more because he's going to take off that day, and I'm going to continue to put in the effort. The trick is I don't know which day he's going to take off. And so I just got to be there every day putting in my effort. I don't know. Maybe he's there today. Maybe he's not. I don't know. But I know one of these days he's going to screw up, and I'm not. I'm going to be here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, boom, that's how you outwork your competition, right? I mean, we talk about it all the time. Right now, people are checking out. Literally, this will be the last week that some people are even thinking about, legitimate business. Nobody's thinking about creating new business. Most of the people aren't thinking about creating new business right now. That's for darn sure. And I was talking to a team last week. We were talking about expireds. We were talking about calling on January 1st, as a matter of fact, making New Year's Day calls, because people have had that discussion over the holidays with their family. They've made a resolution to finally make a decision to do something this year in 2020, whatever it is. So we're going to be making some calls on New Year's Day to expireds and stuff. But, I reminded them to not discount the expireds that came in today, that came in tomorrow and on Thursday and Friday and Christmas week and everything, because one thing's for sure, while there might not be a lot, and yeah, people might have family and there's distractions and it's hard to capture somebody's attention. All that being said, here's the counterbalance to that is my competition ain't going to be there. If I'm there making the calls next week, most of my competition isn't. So while normally I'd have to fight and scrap to get an opportunity, it'll be easy pickings because everybody else is going to be off. You'll be the only person calling. You won't have to worry about them bitching you out because they got 20 calls today. You'll be the only one calling because you're the only one at work.
Man, it goes back to kind of that old little mental model that we tell ourselves is that, the market doesn't slow, only agents do. And, right now is go time, man. This is where you can separate yourself from the rest of the herd by pushing through and crossing the finish line. I remember, man, Brian Moses shared this. He's full of stories, but he shared this one in particular about always run through the finish line. There was an event in between events. There was a group of guys that got together. I think there was 10 guys maybe, and whoever had lost the most weight won. Everybody put in like $100, and whoever did that, they won the most money. It might have been more than that. It might have been more money that they put in. Knowing him, it probably was. And so they show up to that event, right? He hadn't been. This is like pre social media days, right? So we don't have the accountability groups. They're not posting online. And he shows up. He looks great. One of the best shape he's ever been in his life. And everybody was giving him the accolades, patting him on the back. Great job, man. You look fantastic. But there was this one guy. That's like, hey, man, let's just weigh. Let's just weigh to kind of see. I mean, I'm just curious. And he ended up talking B into it, and they weighed, and B had the most weight lost, right? But it was only by a few pounds. So B doesn't, gets a couple bottles of water, heads off and goes to bed because the weigh-in is the next morning. Well, this other guy puts on the trash bags and gets after it, hitting the gym all night, finds a sauna, shows up the next morning and surpasses. And so the lesson of that story was you always run through the finish line. You put the effort all the way through the finish, because the second you pull up, just like you said, that other guy's going to keep going and he's going to go right by you. And it was just a great lesson. I'll never forget that story. And, what a like going to bed thinking you're going to, put an extra $1,000 or whatever it was. And I'm like I said, I'm sure it was more in your pocket just to get there to find out that the guy that got the intel and got the scoop on you, he got his target, right? He knew where he needed to be. And so he was willing to put in that additional effort and run through the finish line, and nobody else was. And so it was just a great, great lesson, is that, stay consistent, maintain that effort on a consistent basis, and you're going to get much, much better results.
Yeah, for sure. And wrapping things up, I just want to touch on, making sure that you find a way to record the effort. That's super important. You mentioned accountability groups and stuff now that we can use. but being able to record that effort. So, talking about practical business when you're a real estate agent. So the metrics I might want to measure when it comes to the effort. So, break it down. What are the activities that are going to make the biggest impact to the bottom line for your business? For most agents, that's going to be prospecting, getting face to face with as many sellers and buyers that are qualified as I can, getting face to face with business owners, and creating vendor relationships and mutually beneficial relationships with influencers within the community. Really spending time to know the market as well as my value proposition. So delivering my scripts, role playing so I sound good, so I can be convincing and eliminate concerns because I just sound great and I have enough confidence because I prepared. So those are the kind of things let's say role playing, practicing, going and meeting business owners, making prospecting calls, getting face to face and doing listing presentations, buyer presentations. So pick a number and for the month and then break it down to a daily basis. So I got to spend this amount of time dialing, or I got to make this many dials and record that effort on a daily basis so you can watch it accumulate. I'm going to do 5, face-to-face appointments a week. So put in the effort to get to that 5, record that effort. I put this much effort in today. There's the outcome. And if you find a way to really record it so you can look at it over time, I've found it's a way to lessen the chance that you'll quit because you can see it. It becomes visual when you start recording that. And if you just do that, put those systems in place, it's guaranteed success. Like the results will come automatically. If you get to work one day at a time, the results will come. If you do the daily work, you literally can't avoid the results.
Yep.
So pick your target, record your progress on a daily basis, put in the work on a daily basis in those things that are most important in your business, and you can't avoid the results.
It'll accumulate and add up over time, man. And it's like, even if you have like a health, goal or whatever you're trying to accomplish, I mean, stepping on the scale and whatever that reads is not the effort measurement, right? That's just the lagging results indicator. The thing to pay attention to is, did I sweat today? And, what was my, calorie consumption? Did I eat the things that I needed to eat and not eat? And, if you're doing those hard things and putting that effort in, then that measurement's going to adjust over time. It's not going to adjust right then. And so it just made me think, even like when you were heading up and running the call center for us in the brokerage in Dallas, like you had to get the whole team from an effort measurement. Like, how important was it that we weren't getting the lagging results, that you're like, we ain't making enough damn dials. That's the effort. We got to put the effort metric in and let's focus on these dials. And when we've got everybody and you got everybody focused on the dials, then the results started to happen. And I think that's a big thing for, it goes back to the delayed gratification, right? People, this is not an instant gratification business, because the effort that you put in today is not going to hit your bank account for another 60, 90 days. And a lot of people, they're not willing to stay disciplined and consistent to that effort because they're not seeing the results. And so it's just understanding, you have to give yourself permission to forego the delayed gratification and focus on the small victories today, right? That's the thing. The small victories today, the effort I'm putting in, and if I nail this, then the results will take care of themselves. And I think that's, really a huge get for a lot of people that, they just don't quite understand.
Yeah, you just got to crush today. I mean, everybody can crush today. Hey, maybe it's going to be tough to crush all 365 days of 2020. I don't know. Yeah, it's probably going to be tough, but man, that's too much to think on. I'm not going to chew on all that. I'm just going to crush today. I can do that. I can do that. I can crush today and just concentrate on that, man. It's so much easier, right? I mean, it's so much easier. And one thing is that you can't expect the overnight success. It just don't happen. That person that got on the scale, it's ridiculous to think that I'm going to eat healthy today and get on the scale tomorrow and see a bunch of a lot of difference. It's just not going to happen, right? But I just trust and know that over time, that cumulative effort will work. but you have to put in the effort. Like, people are always looking for the shortcut. You know, in real estate, there's all these new tools and bells and whistles and leads and whatever, CRMs and stuff that you can buy. And the one thing you can't buy is it's hard to buy effort, right? And so none of us want to put in the effort that's required. So we try to find some tool or something, and none of it actually replaces effort. So it's just a hamster wheel until one day, hopefully, you finally figure out, hell, I could kill it without any of these tools, quite frankly, if I just upped my effort.
Yep. Yeah.
And so, it's hard. You just wanted to finish that. But when you talked about the PR or with the call center room, and even with what I just said, you can't buy the effort and it's hard without it, is one thing it does is it shows the weaknesses. So, maybe sometimes you need more work on your presentation, or you need to ask for the business more. You need to close more. Maybe you need to get better at your scripts, but you can't really tell any of that until you're putting in 110% effort. Otherwise, 9 times out of 10, before you need to start worrying about practicing this and practicing that, you probably just need more reps. You probably just need more effort, because that kind of takes care of getting better on its own if you put in enough effort. So,
right.
I always end up in that situation where people are looking to assign blame, for lack of a better word, on something, whether it's the lead, the CRM, the script, the phone system, the delay in the dialer, whatever it is. They're trying to assign the blame to something. 9 times out of 10, it ends up being that there's just not enough effort, not enough leverage on that flywheel.
Yeah, man. I think too, brother, it's the effort on the right activities, right? The highest leveraged activities that drive the results in this business. Everything that you just said, right? Lead gen, lead prospecting, lead conversion, presenting your offer, client, securing, winning the opportunity, negotiating deals, maybe showing properties. Effort on the things that drive the results. Not, man, I'm putting a lot of effort in on this paperwork. It's like, okay, but that's not going to drive your results, right? That's a low leveraged activity. What we're talking about here is putting the effort in on the high leveraged activities that drive the results in this business. And there's only a handful of them. And if you would allocate your, what's the math equation we use is 70% of your working time on those activities, man, you're going to blow past. I mean, you're your only competition, and you're going to well exceed what you're doing today.
That's it, man. And don't forget, if you guys want to learn a little bit more about how we might be able to work directly with you to help you grow your real estate business, you can check out kinderreescoaching.com. There's some great information there. So again, go to kinderreescoaching.com and jump on a call with us, and we will see how we can help. But we'll wrap up this episode for today, Kitchens. I appreciate you, man. It was a great one.
Appreciate you, brother. Yeah, man. Great stuff, as always.
To find out how to build a 7-figure real estate business in 3 years or less, go to kinderreescoaching.com. You've been listening to the Growth Guys Podcast. If you want us to help you grow your real estate business, go to kinderreescoaching.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the Growth Guys Podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcast fix to get new, fresh weekly episodes. Catch you next time on the Growth Guys Podcast.